So my kid uses TikTok a lot. Came across some Charlie Kirk stuff. She sent me these videos. I just want to see what's in them, see what they have to say. Let's see the stupid stuff Charlie Kirk has to contribute to the world.
Black men are more likely to be in prison.
Oh, yeah. So why do people go to prison?
Because they're in poverty and they have no other way to get.
Okay, so they commit crimes.
Why do they
So wait, if you're
commit crimes?
in poverty, we should give excuses for committing crimes?
Yes.
So like gangbanging is like a crime of necessity? They're so hungry they can't handle it.
I'm talking about like crime that has to do with like getting food, getting stuff that you need to live.
Right, but we have food stamps for anyone that needs it, so that doesn't exist.
That's not true, but okay.
We have subsidized housing for anyone that needs it.
That is not true. Where the f*** are you getting this is completely made up.
So that doesn't exist. We have free health care for any poor person that wants to call Medicaid. That doesn't exist.
That's not true. You can't just go get these things. What are you smoking? Do you know how difficult it is to actually get this stuff? Real f***ing hard. I was on this stuff. And the only reason I could only get food stamps and Medicaid. I couldn't get any kind of housing, anything. There's a massive wait list for that, Section 8 housing. And as a man, I was rejected. I wasn't allowed, even though I had a kid. I was like the sole provider for the kid. And for that reason, I was allowed to have food stamps. But they only gave me food stamps for her, not for me. And they gave her Medicaid. I was on Medicaid for a while, but I think it was when I was married to somebody that was married to a woman who was also impoverished. She got Medicaid, so I was on her system, and I got Medicaid as a result. But anyway, when we split up, I lost all of it. They don't provide these things to just anybody. But here's the thing. Charlie Kirk is arguing against the fact that systemic racism exists, right? Just keep that in the back of your head for a second. Keep listening.
Poor person that wants to call Medicaid, that doesn't exist. We also have welfare cash for anyone that wants it.
That's absolutely false. I got the welfare cash, and it was fucking difficult to get, to pay my rent. It was $500 a month to pay rent, I believe. It's TANF is what it was called, TANF. And you have to basically work at a volunteer place for a certain number of hours per week to get it. They'll put you to work at like in a class learning about like Excel, or they'll put you to work in a soup kitchen or something like that. You're working for that money. You're not just getting cash assistance.
Doesn't exist. So what is it they're missing?
So it's not
Right,
like you
but
just get
it's not
a house.
It's not a stuff thing, though, right? It's like you will not go hungry in this country. You will not starve in this country.
Yes, you will. There's like
No, we have an
you've been on
obesity
State
problem.
Street.
We have an obesity problem, not a starvation problem.
I'm sorry, what? Are you fucking serious with this right now? He's getting into a different subject, so let me just address that last one real fast. Remember he said basically systemic racism doesn't exist. That was the point that he was making. There is a disparity between black people and white people in the U.S. There's a disparity. That's undeniable, right? I think Charlie Kirk can agree that there's a difference between how much the black community prospers versus how much the white community prospers. Now, Charlie Kirk would argue it's the black people's fault, and the system has nothing to do with it. That is objectively false for a couple of reasons. Here's just one example. They did a study a while back where they found that hiring managers have a bias toward white-sounding names. If your name is Tyrone or something, you are less likely to get a job than if your name is John. That's just one example, and it's not even intentional bias. People don't mean for that to happen necessarily. Could be the least racist person alive, and that's, you know, still knocking around in there because it's on a systemic level. There doesn't even have to be a conscious actor in the system. Hell, you know what? You could even say it's the black people's fault. I don't care. You could say there are more black people who commit crimes, and that is why more of them are in the prison system. You could say that if you want. But what you're arguing is that black people are dealing with one of two things. Either they're dealing with societal repression, societal issues that arose as a result of society and what it's done to them and their communities. And if that's the case, then it can be fixed. We can pump money into their communities, we can build them up, and we can, give them free college and everything else. So it's either that, or it's just a genetic failure. And if it's a genetic failure, like they're just genetically like deficient, then you're a Nazi. You're a eugenicist. That is the Nazi argument. It's very obvious that it's a societal problem, right? Here's another problem that exists in the system. It's a systemic issue, not necessarily affecting black people, but it's an example of one. Judges give harsher sentences to people before lunch and lighter sentences after lunch. It's just on average. That's nobody's fault. That's not the judge's fault for not eating soon enough. That's not, the defendant's fault for picking anything. It's no one's fault, but it's a problem that exists. When accounting for all other factors, members of the black community receive harsher sentences for the same crimes. I mean, that's accounting for all other inequalities in these circumstances. That's a systemic problem that exists. That's just a few examples. Those are factual. If you disagree with them, then you just disagree with reality. Now, are you a eugenicist? Or do you want to work with me to try to fix this problem, to try to raise them up and give them equal opportunity to everybody? And for the record, racism is fabricated. Racism doesn't exist outside of a hateful society. You raise people in an environment completely separated from any racist suggestions or thought or anything at all, and racism will not arise. You notice we have differences in hair color, blonde, brown, black, whatever, and nobody focuses on that. Nobody is saying black-haired people are evil or it's their fault that they're this or that or whatever. If Charlie Kirk came along and he started saying black-haired people disproportionately commit more crimes and that's their fault, they need to fix it, that would be pretty clearly up, stupid, and bigoted, right? Why is it any different when it's the skin color rather than the hair color? Hate like this exists because somebody wanted something, because they wanted to benefit from the hate in some way. They capitalized on it. They got people outraged and they benefited. We are tribal creatures in that we tend to gravitate toward people who have similar interests or who are like us in one way or another. But the underlying inherent biases that people have against the black community in the United States is not a naturally occurring event. It is only there because somebody wanted something and they used racism to get it. Anyway, Charlie Kirk is arguing that black people, it's black people's faults, and they just need to fix it.
There's
No, we have an
you've been on
obesity
State
problem.
Street?
We have an obesity problem, not a starvation problem
Oh, yeah, and apparently we don't have a starvation problem.
in this country.
What are you talking
In
about?
State Street, if any one of those people went to the local Episcopalian church or Methodist church, they will get fed.
That's just not true. In a lot of places, those things don't exist. Soup kitchens, some exist, but they run out of food pretty often. A lot of people donate their canned goods, but they never donate canned goods that are going to be good for a while. They donate expired canned goods or stuff that's about to expire, been around for 10 years to clean out their cabinet. That's not useful to anybody. Don't donate expiring. They're going to throw it out because it can't be used. You can't just go to a soup kitchen and get fed. Not everywhere has a soup kitchen. Are you going to do that 3 meals a day, 7 days a week? Those places are supposed to fill gaps that you cannot fill yourself. Look, the fact is, this is a problem that exists in society, period. It exists in society. Now, do we want to fix the problem, or do you want to blame somebody for the problem? Do you want to rise the black community up out of poverty and give them the same opportunities that white people have in the United States, or do you just want to blame them? You just want to blame people and just flat out lie in the process, like claiming we don't have a starvation problem, we have an obesity problem.
I guarantee it. If they go to a local food shelter, they will get
Okay,
fed.
but I'm talking. Okay, housing.
For housing. If we have Section 8 subsidized housing in this country, right?
It's basically impossible to get into Section 8 housing. I know. I experienced it. I was denied repeatedly, especially As a man, they would not accept me into this program, period. They just wouldn't. But even for women that I knew, there was a wait list of literally 5 years long. It was a 5-year wait list. Section 8 housing is not an option. It's an option for like a fraction of a percent of the population that needs it. You know why? Because Republicans keep cutting funding to this type of... This is a problem. Whether you want to admit this or not, it's a problem. Now, do you want to blame poor people for being poor, or do you want to fix the problem by providing housing for people?
If you want to have a roof over your head, you can have a roof over your head.
That is simply false. It's just a lie from somebody that experienced it. Check this one out.
How do you feel about the legalization of marijuana?
I'm against it.
Against? Why?
So I know you'll probably bring up alcohol. Happy to discuss that. I actually think alcohol is worse than marijuana, for the record. Would you agree with that?
Totally. Yes, alcohol is worse than weed. But I think Charlie Kirk's about to argue that alcohol is bad too, right?
But we're talking about legalizing something that's currently illegal, rather than making something legal that is illegal, if that makes sense. Would you agree that there are...
Okay, I don't understand why that has anything to do with anything at all. Should weed be legal or not?
more side effects to the usage of marijuana than most people would be aware about?
For sure.
Okay.
Okay, interesting. He's trying to get a little wedge in there. Try to get the guy to agree that there are side effects that we're unaware of. No, people have been smoking weed for a long fucking time. I think we're pretty well aware of the side effects. It's studied into the ground by now. The reason I say that is because he's about to fabricate side effects that are complete nonsense. Just keep listening.
Side effects to the usage of marijuana than most people would be aware about.
For sure.
Okay, so that's a good common agreement. I think the problem with mass legalization is that it underplays the side effects. I don't think a generation that is regularly using marijuana is a great thing for the country. Or
what side effects? I thought he said it in this video. Maybe he didn't, but he says smoking weed, basically he said it creates bipolar disorder and schizophrenia and anxiety and depression. You weren't schizophrenic before, you smoke weed, then you become schizophrenic, is what he said. He just lies whenever he wants, just says whatever he wants, and he doesn't even give a shit. It's like the other night, I was talking to somebody on the line, like a MAGA or just like a Christian caller calls in, and their argument for the Bible being real is chariot wheels are found in the Red Sea. No, they weren't. I mean, you know, that wouldn't prove it anyway, but they weren't. He says, yes, they were. And I said, no, they weren't. We're at an impasse because you're just fucking lying. You're just making shit up. How do I push back against people just making shit up brazenly? Weed causes schizophrenia. What? Where the fuck did you hear that?
Great thing for the individual.
Right.
The best argument that one would make is, but the government should have no role in it. Fair enough. I think that's a good argument. Arizona, we've completely legalized marijuana.
Sure.
And I don't think it's been good. It's far more psychoactive than it has been in the past.
I agree.
No. It's stronger than it's been in the past. Psychoactive? What the fuck do you mean by psychoactive? It's more psychoactive? Why did you use that word instead of saying it's stronger than it has been in the past, which means we have to smoke less of it to get the same high? Not that I smoke weed. I don't. I haven't in a long time. I used to. In the 70s, it was just disgusting. It was ditch weed. You know, there was no... You had to smoke like 3 joints to get high from it, basically. Now you hit a joint twice and you're absolutely gone. Either way, so what? Who cares if it's more psychoactive or stronger? I don't understand why that's bad.
Than it has been in the past.
I agree.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah, THC racer.
Yeah.
Skyrim.
And it also increases bipolar schizophrenia, depression, anxiety.
There you go. What? No, it doesn't? Again, making up, just lying, flat out fabricating information and claiming it's real. We live in 2 separate realities because of people like him. He does not believe this. You cannot convince me. He believes what he's saying right now.
Yeah.
Skyrim.
And it also increases bipolar schizophrenia, depression, anxiety.
Sure.
And I also
Dude says true. The kid said that's true. No, it isn't.
think there's been a lot in that, it's going to solve all of your problems.
Definitely.
We've seen very little evidence of that.
Wait, who the f said weed's gonna solve all of your problems? I don't remember literally any human being ever saying weed will solve all of your problems. Maybe they say it'll solve your stress problem, your anxiety problem, your depression problem, because it can do that sometimes, depending on the situation. This is just complete fabricated nonsense. How do you argue with somebody who is just lying? Like, I can pull up, every study in existence and show, an audience, like a debate audience, that he's lying about this. I can prove that they didn't find chariot wheels in the Red Sea. And it goes in one ear and out the other. They don't care because they heard him say it, and suddenly they have a reason to believe in the Bible or whatever. Suddenly they have a reason to be opposed to weed. Oh, it causes schizophrenia. Oh, boy. It's just embarrassing and sad. Embarrassing and sad. Okay, before we listen to the next clip, I want to give you a little bit of lead into it. Let me establish something. Can we agree that the foundation of Nazi ideology was the belief that certain races of people are inherently inferior to others, or that they are that they shouldn't be trusted, or whatever? The foundation was racism, right? Like blatant, brazen, out in the open racism, undeniable racism. That is, in effect, what Nazi ideology was. The belief that Aryans were the best and other races were not, including the black community. Listen to what Charlie Kirk has to say here. This one's from late January 2024.
Turbulence hits, or when you're flying through a storm and you're like, I'm so glad I saw the guy with the right stuff and the square jaw get into the cockpit before
Okay, I'm not sure what a square jaw has to do with anything, but all right.
we took off. And I feel better now thinking about that.
No, I mean, like, you want to go thought crime? Like, I'm sorry, if I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified.
Charlie Kirk just openly says he doesn't believe, or he automatically assumes that black people are less qualified than white people for doing a job, any given job. That is just brazen, open racism, right? Now, does he want to gen people? I don't know. Probably trans people at the very least, I'd say, right? He probably supports Israel, and there's a genocide happening over there right now. But does he want a genocide like black people? Probably not. He just wants to destroy their reputation and blame them for all of the problems in the world, basically. I wanted to give you that lead up to show you this next clip. Is Charlie Kirk a Nazi in the sense that he wants to genocide people? No. Is he a Nazi in the sense that he shares all of the foundational beliefs that the Nazis shared? Absolutely.
Oh, it says Charlie is a Nazi. Wow.
So I know you're obviously very anti-trans.
No, I'm pro-reality.
All right, you're being anti-trans. You're not pro-reality. You're just a head.
Okay, if you were pro-reality, let me tell you a story that explains this sign a little bit.
Let me guess, all the Nazis were against trans people too, and therefore that makes me a Nazi.
Oh, he's doing the old Eminem defense where you throw out what you think your opponent is going to say before they can say it, and that invalidates it. Yeah. One more time?
Let me guess, all the Nazis were against trans people too, and therefore that makes me a Nazi.
Yes. Well, that's one of the things. It is the belief that you are superior to some group of people for some reason, because they're, not as white as you, or not as strong, or they don't have this mental state. They're not Christian like you, or whatever. That is a foundation of Nazi ideology.
That makes me a Nazi.
Yeah, you mean the
Wait, hold on.
You mean all of the Nazis that was the first book burning.
Wait, hold on.
The first people, just like Donald Trump.
I don't think it was the first book burning, but he's probably referring to Magnus Hirschfeld's, basically, Institute of Sexology, I think is what it was called. And he was a gay dude that was very trans-affirming, very gay-affirming. He had a big collection of books on sexual topics, images on the subject and things like that. And I don't remember who it was, some Nazi group rolled up in vans and went inside. Hirschfeld was in France at the time, visiting France. And the Nazis get out of the vans, go inside, ask where he is, and they're basically told he's in France, and they say, good, hopefully he'll snuff it before we have to bother getting to him. They destroyed paintings, they destroyed busts of, like statues or whatever. They poured red ink all over the insides of books and the pictures. They burned a bunch of stuff. It was completely destroyed, unusable after they left. That was one of the early major attacks by Nazis. Actually, I think that was in 1932. Was that 1933? Maybe March 1933. I don't remember. Anyway, that's from the book The Coming of the Third Reich by Richard J. Evans. There's a whole bit about Magnus Hirschfeld. I'm not sure it was the first book burning, though. There was one really big, famous book burning. I was probably thinking of.
Hold on.
The first people, just like Donald Trump, the first people that Nazis went after were trans people and immigrants. And
Actually, the people he went after were immigrants. Jews were immigrants. Hitler referred to them as aliens. Like illegal aliens, for example. He hated Jews because he believed that they didn't belong in Germany. They were the immigrants. This fight is identical to Germany. Identical.
fail to see the parallels with that.
Do you have a dog?
I do have a dog.
So
His
did
name's
Hitler. Are you a
Houdini. I love
Nazi?
him.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, so he's saying the fact that he shares the foundation of Nazi belief, that he shares racist, hateful ideology, that he shares effectively a hatred for trans people, a shared distrust in people who are not effectively Aryan or white. The fact that he shares that with Hitler or with the Nazis is basically the same as saying, well, Hitler drank water and I drank water and Hitler died, so I think I'm gonna die because he drank water and I drank water too. He can't possibly not know the point here, right? He can't possibly believe that he's not Nazi-like, right? I mean, the name nationalist was was in the title. Nationalsozialistische. National. The national section was national, nationalist. I mean, the denomination of Christianity that kind of conglomerated around Nazi ideology, they wanted to call themselves the Christian nationalists. I am 100% real. Actually, evangelische Nationalismus, or evangelical nationalist, or Protestant nationalist, or whatever. But Hitler vetoed that and went with German Christians. Deutsche Christen, I believe. He wanted to make it more inclusive, I guess, or something. The point is that Charlie Kirk is clear as fucking day on the side of Nazis. Could not possibly be clearer. Again, I'll say what I said in the beginning of this video. Is he interested in committing a Holocaust on the black community? No, probably not. But the basis for it is there. The belief that there's a superiority or an inferiority between people groups is there. A distrust for minority groups is there in the exact same way. He's just like mocking this dude and pretending that sharing racist ideology is the same as liking dogs.
Nazi? Oh my goodness. You have a dog and so did Hitler. I can't believe it. Hitler had a dog. You have a dog. You're a Nazi.
Oh my God.
Do you think that's what made people Nazis, was having a dog? We're talking about fundamental ideological beliefs here, not dogs. And he cannot not know that.
Do you have short hair and f***ed up teeth? You must be a Nazi,
Well,
motherfucker.
Let's elevate our discussion above personal insults.
Oh, please. Suddenly he's opposed to personal insults.
Let's try to... You see, the left can't debate, so they just call names.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. The left can't debate. They're all idiots, completely full of shit, don't know what they're doing, 100%. He's a colossal scumbag, Charlie Kirk is. I believe that he is very much responsible for the situation that we're in right now with Donald Trump. And I believe he is about as low as they come. He is vile. He's a vile human being with vile beliefs. And I don't believe in political violence. But if he were in 1943 America, he would get punched in the face. He wouldn't, because he wouldn't feel comfortable voicing these beliefs. Because they're Nazi beliefs. Anyway, tell me what you think about it in the comments. It's just fucking disgusting, dude, really. What is wrong with him? What is wrong with the people on the right in MAGA. What happened?